Hi, everybody. This is SAAD. Came back home after a long day and had a lecture earlier today in my MSc/PhD course in consumer psychology and decision making. Sat back, tried to relax, and then I found out the latest from across the pond from Britain at the glorious Cambridge University. And so I wanted to discuss briefly the story that has unfolded at Cambridge. For those of you who don't know, Cambridge University is one of the, of course, most prestigious universities today, but it is undoubtedly one of the most prestigious university in the history of universities. So in the history of human thought, there have been few universities that have produced as many or that have housed as many brilliant people as much as Cambridge University has. I will read you a small list of such people in a few seconds and then I will contrast it to what just recently took place at the university in question. I'm trying to decide what to do first. First, discuss the case or share with you the people. Let's go ahead with the people. Charles Babbage, for those of you who might know computer science, was associated with the university in question, with Cambridge University. Niels Bohr, Nobel Prize winner in physics. These are historical figures. I didn't bother to list all of the incredible people from the place. I really tried to look for historically famous and influential scientists. This one you might have heard of, Charles Darwin. Paul Dirac, the physicist who won also the Nobel Prize. Ronald Fisher, who is a famous statistician. Francis Crick, co-discoverer of the double helix structure of DNA, Nobel Prize winner in 1953 with James Watson. Diane Fossey, the primatologist, some of you may know her. Francis Galton, another famous psychometrician. Jane Goodall, also the primatologist who is still alive today, I believe. J.B.S. Haldane, who is a very famous evolutionary geneticist. Some of you might remember a SAAD Truth that I did whereby I discussed my favorite quote of all time from a scientist, and it is his quote, one of his quotes. You can go back to an earlier SAAD Truth and see it. J.B.S. Haldane is a wonderful evolutionary geneticist. Stephen Hawking, the physicist who a few years ago passed away. Oh, this one you might have heard of, Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin had affiliations with Cambridge University. Bob Oppenheimer, the director of the Manhattan Project, the project for the World War II. Carl Pearson, the statistician. So when you talk about Pearson correlation, it's Carl Pearson. Ernest Rutherford, the Nobel Prize winning physicist, and I feel as though I know him because I think at one point he was at McGill. I mean, obviously way before my time. And so there's the Rutherford building at McGill and so on. And so it seems as though he is one of our own, if you'd like, one of our Montrealers, although, of course, he was associated with Cambridge at one point. John Maynard Smith. Some of you might remember when I introduced the theory regarding male feminists and male social justice warriors as sneaky fuckers. I think I first announced my theory to Jordan Peterson when he was on my show the first time. But the original person who coined the sneaky fucker term in zoology, I applied it in the context of male social justice warriors. But I think the first one was John Maynard Smith, and then it might have been later popularized by Richard Dawkins. So a very famous evolutionary biologist who applied game theory in understanding various evolutionary phenomena. C.P. Snow, the famous author of the two cultures and so on. Alan Turing, for any of you who know who that is, arguably, I mean, I had a long career as a student, all my education. Perhaps the most mind-blowing course that I ever took, and that's saying a lot. is a formal languages course that I took when I was a mathematics and computer science student. And a lot of the material in the formal languages course was based on Alan Turing's simply astonishing brilliance. It's really difficult to comprehend that level of intellectual acuity. Francis Bacon, the scientific method, Cambridge University. Karl Popper, the philosopher of science. The falsification principle comes from Karl Popper. Bertrand Russell. So these are not just your run-of-the-mill great professors. These are historical in the history of human thought. These are the people who were walking around at Cambridge. B.F. Skinner, Skinnerian conditioning, the famous psychologist, the behaviorist. Ludwig Wittgenstein, not a huge fan of his, but of course a nonetheless important philosopher. And just to kind of mix it up, I put in there Milton Friedman, the University of Chicago economist who won the Nobel Prize in economics. And please spare me some idiot writing to me in the comment section, but no, it's not called the Nobel Prize, and then give the correction. I know that already. So these are some of the people who've attended Cambridge University. So this would seem to be a place where, the free flow of exchange of ideas is paramount. I mean, this is the place that has probably generated more important ideas in the human pantheon of knowledge, as I said, more than probably any other university in the history of the world. But recently they decided that there is one person that was way, way, way too dangerous to even contemplate allowing to have him step on their prestigious grounds, because his ideas are so repugnant, are so difficult to bear, are so likely to potentially challenge the established echo chambers, that he might create such an environment of non-inclusion that he had to be stopped. So despite the fact that he was offered a 2-month fellowship to go there, it was rescinded after an outcry of people who absolutely stated that they would not feel safe, that it would be difficult for them to function. Who is that person? Did Dr. Mengele rise from the dead and return and seek a fellowship? Was it Genghis Khan? Was it none other than Mustache Man himself, Adolf Hitler? Who was it? Osama bin Laden is not dead and he's doing a fellowship at Cambridge? Who holds such execrable views that we need to shut him down? I'm trying to think. Who else is really bad? Jeffrey Dahmer. Was it Jeffrey Dahmer? Was it Ted Bundy? Who was it? Mao Zedong? No, people. It's my good buddy, Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is so dangerous, so filled with hate facts, so triggering, that Cambridge University, with its list of people that I just read you, and this is a small part of the list, that institution has decided in the 21st century that Jordan Peterson is simply too toxic to allow on their grounds. So for those of you who write to me and say, but Professor, why do you keep talking about the social justice warriors? I mean, aren't there bigger problems? No, there aren't. Because the social justice warriors in of themselves, I don't care that they have green hair, but they represent one of the most fundamentally important attacks on a free society. And that's our ability to think, our ability to criticize, our ability to exchange ideas, our ability to use the scientific method to decide which ideas are good, which ones are bad. There is nothing more important than free inquiry, freedom of conscience, freedom of speech. And a place that had Francis Bacon walking its halls has now decided that Jordan Peterson is simply too dangerous to handle. So if you think that this is a trivial matter, then you are part of the problem. So instead, get up and fight. Join the battle. Do whatever you can. however small, to reverse this trend. Jordan Peterson is just one small manifestation of a much larger problem. And believe me, I'm seeing it in my own professional career, how all sorts of venomous folks are coming after me. We stand up and speak because we feel that it is our duty to do so, but we need your support. Write to Cambridge University. Do whatever it is that you have to do politely, but engage the matter. Let me return back to my couch so I can relax. Tomorrow is another big day. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.